back, I wrote a book of short stories about the town I grew up in New England. It was a factory town, uh, although they're all gone now, aren't they? It was an industrial town, and these are my observations from when I was a boy of the adults around me. I'd look at them and take it all in. I was interested, and what I wrote down as a man, an old man, many decades later. So that's what this is. Anyway, this is called A Simple Story. She looked out into the day and it was beautiful. It smelled cold. The sun was bursting brilliantly in the blue sky. The New England snow slowed things. And in the early morning hours, when the snow was untouched and it was pristine, it blanketed the valley with a pleasant sense of peace and calm. Beautiful winter days like this were a part of the reason she loved this place and why she never left. She held the thin black iron rail and stepped carefully down the slate and cement steps. And watching her, he said across the freshly fallen snow, "Ice is gone, I got it." And he had. In fact, it was gone by him before the sun had risen over the valley hills. He took shoveling very seriously. She went over the mental list of food that she had prepared for him: the stuffed cabbage with bacon, the chicken consomme with noodles, the potato pancakes, and the meatloaf stuffed with eggs. "I left you a few things in the refrigerator," she said, and once again went over the workings of the mysterious microwave with him. And again, although they both knew its intricacies would elude him again, and that he would once again nuke the food for so long that smoke would billow out of its every crevice. He let the car engine idle and turned the heater on to warm the protected vinyl coverings on the seat. He didn't want her to be cold. A slight stream of blue-gray smoke from the exhaust floated over the open trunk where he had carefully placed her white naugahyde-covered luggage on an old quilt in the unlikely event that there was dirt on that trunk floor. She had packed the only clothes she knew she would need: a nightgown, of course, her slippers. And then there was the other things: her best dress, her best shoes, her good jewelry. He smelled the cold, too, and he liked it. He liked the way it felt on his cheeks and on the tip of his nose. He liked outside because you were alone outside. Years ago, he had worked inside the shop for a few months, but he didn't like it. He did not like the way some guys talked dirty about girls and didn't approve of that sort of thing. Some of them even had dirty magazines with naked pictures of girls jammed inside their lockers, and they'd show him, and he would say, "I go to mass, you know." And they stopped doing that. And that was why he took the driver's job, hauling loads from Ansonia up to Springfield, Mass, and then back down again. 24 years behind the wheel of a big rig had left him with enormous flat hands, thick wrists, a flabby rear end that was distinctly disappropriate to the rest of his wide, muscular body. Decades of handmade kielbasi with potato cheese pierogies topped with bacon and fried onions left him with an enormous belly. And those were the only things about him that were memorable or unique, except that he was a kind man, a benign, gentle man. She always said that the crew cut on his still blonde but thinning hair made him look like a Polish prison guard, and men who didn't know him stepped out of his way. But children liked him instantly, and he had that aura of men who would rather listen than speak. He did not speak about the hospital situation. He didn't understand it, and sitting there on the edge of his thoughts was how he would take care of himself after she was gone. He worried about the laundry the most. Those machines were a mystery to him. And when she was in the hospital at that time with the baby, he had fought it out with that laundry machine, and the laundry machine won by shrinking everything to half its size. He wondered if she would feel pain. There were a lot of times over these past few weeks that he closed his eyes and he talked to the Virgin Mary. He said to her that if there was pain to be involved, let him feel it instead of her. Because he could take it, and he was not sure she could. She was a small woman, you know. And God must have made this big for a reason, this thing, this horrible thing. He did not want to think about any of that now. In a half hour, he would be alone, and then he would have no choice but to think about it, because there would be no one else to talk to. He turned his attention to the slate wall and noted the roots had pushed their way into the tiny porous holes in the cement that pushed apart the severed gravel that kept the wall together. She slowly, carefully, through the snow, made her way over to him and stared at the crumbling wall as well. "It's got to come down," he said, "before it falls down on its own. You don't want that. I remember you and the boys built that." She pointed to the patch of woods in back of the house. "Took the rocks from back, remember? We took the Easter pictures here with yous in your red coats." The memory brought a wonderful smile to his face. "Oh, yous are so handsome," she said with pride that lifted her chin. "Oh, honest to God, though." He pulled a large rock from the top of the wall and placed it on the lawn. "Well, it's got to come down, so we can save it. We'll do what we can." He turned to her. Her eyes had welled up. "Oh, hell, woman, it's just a damn wall," he said, trying his best to sound gruff, but coming nowhere close to the effect he wanted. She locked her short, soft arm into his and turned and embraced his bride for a long moment, because he loved her and he missed her already, and because hospitals upset that big man. And he held her to keep her out of the world, safe, if only for just that one moment. They walked silently to the car, arm in arm. The snow was tapering off into rain, a rain that, unlike the snow, seemed to come more as an assault, an attack that would somehow alter things forever. He opened the car door. She slid in. He shut her door. And he drove his bride to the hospital.